Okay, picture this. The call has been made. All the talking, all the diplomacy, it's failed. And the order is given. U.S. forces are launching a full-scale invasion of Greenland. So let's break down just how this incredible and, frankly, incredibly risky scenario might actually play out.
Now the American military. They've fought in some of the harshest deserts on the planet. But this is a whole different ballgame. It's a completely different kind of challenge because in this mission, the main enemy, it isn't an army. No, the real enemy here is the environment. It's the Arctic itself, that vast, absolutely unforgiving landscape of Greenland.
So, yeah, let's set the stage for this Arctic gamble. This operation, it's not just another mission. It's a massive, massive gamble against the elements.
First off, you've got to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this place. Greenland isn't just big. It is the largest island on the entire planet. We're talking about a colossal landmass, and, get this, 80% of it is buried under the second largest ice sheet in the world.
And on this absolutely immense island, how many people live there? Just 57,000. That contrast is everything. The real challenge here isn't defeating a population, it's about trying to control a vast, empty, and deeply inhospitable wilderness.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. See, the invasion itself, the initial takeover, that's actually the easy part. The real war, the true test of this whole thing, is the occupation that has to come after.
The invasion begins, and the plan is built on one thing and one thing only: overwhelming speed. The goal? End the fight before the rest of the world even knows it started.
And just look at the kind of force we're talking about here. Even before the order is made public, you've got carrier strike groups already sailing. You've got F-22 and F-35 fighter jets ready to scramble, electronic warfare aircraft, special ops support ships, Virginia-class submarines, and of course, thousands of soldiers are already on their way. The invasion isn't coming, it's already happening.
So here's how it all goes down super fast. In the first hour, the order is given. By hour 2, a total communications blackout isolates Greenland from the world. An hour after that, air superiority is total. By hour 4, we've got boots on the ground, securing all the key transport hubs. And then, by the 12-hour mark, a full naval blockade is in place, sealing off the GIUK gap, that supercritical choke point in the North Atlantic. In just half a day, the entire island is effectively cut off from the rest of the planet.
Okay, Greenland is locked down tight. Now the focus completely shifts. The military operation kicks off an absolute geopolitical firestorm. And right at the center of it all is America's own alliance, NATO.
So you have to understand at the very heart of NATO is Article 5. It's the bedrock of the entire alliance. The core promise, an attack on one member is an attack on all of them. And since Greenland is part of Denmark, Denmark, of course, immediately invokes it.
But here is the absolutely paralyzing dilemma. The promise is an attack on one is an attack on all. But what happens when the attack is from one of them? What do you do when the attacker is a NATO member? There's literally no playbook for this. The alliance is thrown into the biggest crisis of its entire existence, with leaders just frantically scrambling, trying to figure out what on earth to do.
And this is exactly why any kind of direct military response from the Allies is pretty much unthinkable. I mean, just look at the numbers here. The sheer imbalance of power. The US is rank 1 with over 1.3 million active personnel. Compare that to the UK or France with around 200,000, or Denmark way down at rank 45 with 21,000. So for these other NATO members, taking military action against the US isn't just a difficult choice, it's a terrifying one.
So, if you can't fight them on the battlefield, what do? The Allies turn to economic warfare. They start threatening to rip up trade deals, they talk about imposing crippling tariffs on U.S. goods, and they might even evict American businesses. And then there's the big one, the nuclear option, freezing the $3.6 trillion in U.S. treasuries they hold. The goal is simple: make this occupation so financially painful that the U.S. has no choice but to back down.
And, of course, while NATO is tearing itself apart, who's watching from the sidelines? America's global rivals. Russia and China immediately condemn the invasion, they position themselves as these voices of stability, and they move fast to expand their own influence in the power vacuum left behind by a fractured Western alliance. Okay, so the invasion itself was swift. The geopolitical fallout is, well, it's chaotic. But now, the hardest part begins. This is the long, slow, and incredibly expensive grind of actually occupying the place.
So here's the reality on the ground in Greenland, and this is so crucial. There are no highways. You can't just drive tanks or trucks from one town to the next.
And that complete lack of infrastructure creates a logistical nightmare. Most of the towns are totally isolated, separated by just huge, empty distances. There are no easy supply routes for an occupying army.
What you have instead is just ice, sudden whiteout blizzards, and brutal, brutal distances. Your standard military vehicles? Pretty much useless here. A simple supply run can turn into a life-or-death survival mission in the blink of an eye. So what's the American solution to this? Engineering. They deploy thousands of Navy Seabees. These are expert combat construction crews to literally build the infrastructure they need from scratch. Step 1, expand the existing Patuxent space base. Step 2, fortify the ports to create a massive supply funnel from the U.S. They are essentially trying to tame the environment by brute force.
But here's the thing. Even as the U.S. starts to solve some of these logistical problems, a whole new one pops up. The next challenge, it isn't logistical, it's human. Because Greenland's small population is incredibly passionate and fiercely proud.
And they resist, not with guns, but with things like civil disobedience, strikes, and constant protests, which turns the day-to-day job of governing into an absolute nightmare. So what's the endgame in all this? Well, even with total military control, the U.S. is looking at a strategic catastrophe. Its global standing is in ruins, its alliances are cracked, maybe even collapsed, and its rivals have gained huge influence. The most likely outcome is some kind of negotiated de-escalation, a partial retreat where they get to keep some control. Militarily, you could call it a win, but in every other way that matters, it's a massive defeat.
So this whole scenario is just a huge paradox, isn't it? A military victory that leads to a strategic defeat for pretty much everyone involved. It really forces you to ask a pretty fundamental question. What is the price of a victory that everyone loses?